Awesome. How you doing, Janae?
I am doing good, Joel. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, no, it's an honor to have you on the Jesus Magnet, and yeah, keen to hear your story, sort of how your story aligns not only with everyone's got a story, right? But your story often is a gateway to be able to reach people that have similar testimonies, similar trials, and that's why I like interviewing people and getting their testimonies, is because I've had lots of people that have had drug issues and people with broken marriages and things like that. And the cool thing is their story and how basically they've cried out to the Lord, to Jesus.
Right.
And there's been this radical transformation, whether the marriage has been restored or a drug addict has been completely set free from all withdrawals, all addiction, which is crazy because I get withdrawals just from not having my coffee in the morning, and
Yeah.
these meth addicts are getting total withdrawal free
Yes.
from just one night. They've had it, and they end up experiencing God in the middle of the street, crying out to the Lord, and He just shows up and turns them around. So I'm really interested to hear your story, because your one is around the COVID pandemic, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes. And we went a year and a half into the pandemic with nothing. And then in July 2021, we got slammed as a family with that really bad variant, that Delta variant that seemed to
Right.
come in, pretty good. They said it was worse than when it first started. That variant really kind of went in for the kill, but yes, we ended up getting that, and it was it was kind of a weird thing because we were already, as you all know, a year and a half into this, and it wasn't like I don't think anybody was getting like cocky in the sense that it was over, but it was just, you just thought maybe we were on the road to getting it better for the world, and then it just really slammed. Lots of deaths that starting that 21 again. But
Can I ask you,
oh yeah.
were you like, I mean, lots of people have different views on the COVID, on the virus, and how it took over the planet. Where did you stand? Because I've met people that have, I mean, especially in New Zealand, where I'm from, we really didn't get COVID that badly. So, and then you get other countries. I've had somebody on from India, and he said he saw people dying every day, and it just seems from some people's perspectives, it looks like the media blew it up a little bit. But then also, I talk to people that have been there, and it is something that was wiping out a lot of people. Where do you stand on all that?
Well, I stand that to me, after much research and after experiencing everything, I really feel like certain areas really got it, but to make it bad. So I don't know whether it was released onto us. I do believe it was created.
Mm.
Myself personally, the doctors, that afterwards that were honest and slipped in my room, and told me their opinions, nurses, a lot
Well,
of
that's
medical staff.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've really, and it's coming out in the news now. So this is 3.5 years ago for me, but everything is coming out now. So, and in America, with our new election and Robert Kennedy Jr. and things like that, not to get into all that, but, they're really trying to bring out the truth of
Mm.
really what happened in this. Now,
And
did
it's
we get
hard.
sick? We got sick,
Yeah.
but the hospital protocols here was what really injured everybody.
Ooh, yeah. And that's what I mean. Like, we have this truth that might be trying to escape to the masses, but then you got the masses that don't want to hear the truth. They're
Exactly.
quite happy with the lie.
Exactly. And I'm in a group of widow and widowers. I'm a survivor and they found me I'm a very rare survivors off the ventilator, and the Remdesivir hospital protocols is very rare. So we're a very rare group, and but they found me and I'm with wonderful people, but they lost a child, they lost parents, husband or wife. Thousands and thousands of people to the ventilator and to the remdesivir, and we're trying to get that off the market and get some,
What do
another.
you mean? What do you mean, Janae, about the ventilator? They lost their life because of the ventilator?
I do believe that. no one survived. So after all those years of no one surviving, and I'm the only survivor that came out of my ICU area, the whole area here, all these hospitals up and down the coast, they said I was the only survivor off the ventilator in 21 and all those months from July on with that Delta until it changed to the Omicron or whatever, they had all these
Mm.
names for it. But
Yeah.
if I was the only survivor with the Lord, even, it shows me something was not working.
Mm.
And so, why couldn't something else be, helped? Like one of the doctors that snuck in my room at night, he said, if you would have came in an automobile accident or a heart attack, I could have done everything to save someone. But with the COVID, it was only Remdesivir drug and the ventilator.
Wow.
That's
So
it.
here's a question for you. If, let's say, it's the drug and the ventilator that actually ended up killing these people, is it counted as a COVID death?
It's COVID. Yeah, of course it's going to be COVID. And it's crazy what's going to come out. I really do believe, and I pray that it comes out for these families that have really suffered now for 3.5 years. They lost someone that they trusted, to call the hospital. They trusted to call the ambulance, like my husband. And then it was going to go south. And it went south for me. I mean, I was in end of life care, and I was at my last breath when the Lord came to me. And that's my story, what
So
happened then.
how quickly did it happen?
So we got COVID about a Thursday night. We started feeling weird by Monday or Tuesday the next week. So it was a slow little cold thing. You could see where it would creep up, but then it went into like a respiratory, and the Delta variant really pushed the vaccines here so there was just a multitude of things. It was pushing the vaccines, it was making it the virus of the unvaccinated. It was so many
Mm.
little kind of, I hate to say it, but political type stuff instead of health.
Very divisive too.
What was that?
Like very divisive. If
Yes,
there's one way to alienate an entire group of people for, I guess, giving them the freedom of choice. I mean,
yes,
the way I see the vaccine is people, if they want to get the vaccine, they can get the vaccine,
right,
but you should
exactly.
never, like, it's your body. You can choose, but don't
Right.
force it on other people. And then the other thing is the people that are vaccinated. Why are they so terrified of people that are not vaccinated? Because shouldn't that be the protection
Yeah,
against?
they should be protected. And the thing is like with me, even in 21 July, they told me when I lived, and again, I'm the only they told me that don't ever let, these were nurses and doctors who snuck in with all hazmat on. I don't know who they are, but they wanted to tell me because I lived. And they said that, don't believe that you are in here because you were not vaccinated, or in the ICU, we have vaccinated and unvaccinated dying on the ventilator.
Right.
And so the ventilator, I learned some stuff about that too. I mean, everyone was getting bacterial pneumonia after you're being put on. You had, kind of a viral pneumonia first, and then now you have that, and then the forced airs, and again, this remdesivir drug was taken off the market and then put back on.
Mm.
And so there's a huge groups that are really trying to get that off the market again. It fills your kidneys up with water. It's drowning you while you're trying to fight for your life. It's not a good drug. And
Wow.
and if you research that, but the truth is really coming out now, and it will continue because it is the truth. And so I've met so many wonderful people who have lost so many people. But when I was dying, they forced me on the ventilator. They came in my room and said, I was in my normal room, and they said that they were going to put me to sleep and on a ventilator. They didn't tell my family. They took my phone, four nurses. I'm in a regular room. I'm texting my girlfriends. I even took my oxygen mask off and went, breathed in. And I'm like, why am I going on a ventilator? I'm breathing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
True.
I didn't understand, but you could tell, and the Lord was with me, but you could tell I was not going to have a choice in this. It was going to be,
Was it like
take
procedure? These people were just going, this is the new procedure. You're going on a
This is
ventilator.
it. Like you've got to this point, you've got to go on the ventilator.
Wow.
Yeah, and then and it's sad, but we weren't getting out of our beds. We weren't eating. They were putting a mask on us a lot. Where I remember the nurses. I was so hungry and thirsty, and the nurses would discourage me from like not taking off the mask to eat or drink, but I needed to have. I was just, and then that drug started, and my specialist said no to the drug. I said no to the drug, but another doctor ordered it for 10 days. And I'm also a rare case. They gave me that drug for 10 days, and I'm still here. So that
Wow.
alone is a miracle, too. No one survives that drug. Most of the statistics, everyone died on the fourth and fifth day of remdesivir. I know a woman in Texas, her husband lasted to the eighth day and then passed. I, by my chart and everything else, I got 10 full days. So not only did God, do a miracle, but he also made it, my chart is so bad that I'm definitely, a miracle because I should not be living a normal life.
100%. And you said that you were the only survivor. How many people are in this ICU ward with you?
When I looked at the newspapers after, there was up to like 41, 42 souls a day in the ICU with me. And several people I know, the stories are exactly, I mean, thousands of us, our stories are exactly the same. One of the wonderful families in my area, they found me, their son passed away. And then we found out we had the same nurses, we were in the same ICU. So her son was with me. But of course, he didn't make it. But we're good friends. And the thing that when God came to me, I don't know if I showed you this before, but the Lord helped me write a book, and it's
Wow.
called I Will Breathe for You, and that came out. And the reason why I titled it that is when I thought it was my last breath, and I was very alert in the coma. I've never been like this before, never been sick like that before. But when I was in the coma, I was very alert. And so that was another thing that's really helped people is that if they did get in to see a loved one, there is a chance that their loved one did know they were there because I couldn't maybe lift my eyes and see anything, but I could tell what was going on and hearing. I could hear in the ICU, I could hear the people passing, I could hear beds moving. It was a bad movie, but the Lord, I thought it was my last breath. He came to me and I was repenting and I was talking to him and praying, just wanting to make sure I was right with him and telling him how much I loved him. And then I was telling him, I said, Lord, I'm going to be so sad not to, hug my husband and my three children again. And it was right then. I was just calmly waiting for that last breath. I really was. It was that serious of a feeling that the Lord came to me right here and he said, Janae, you will not die. I will breathe for you. And that's why I titled the book, I Will Breathe for You.
Wow.
And then he took me on a journey and he showed me for the rest of that time in the coma. I literally have never had this happen before.
You were in a coma?
I was in the coma on the ventilator. And but when I was in the coma, he literally took me and showed me what was happening in the world, the first things that I saw. And it's all coming out in the news now. I mean, I'm I love to read and I like going down rabbit holes. I mean, of course, with the spirit, the Holy Spirit, you're in tune with things. So I knew some things, but he showed me so many things. He showed me organ harvesting. He literally took me to what they're doing in the world. I mean, three and a half, 4 years ago, I had no idea about this kind of stuff.
Let's just go back a little bit.
Yeah,
Let's go to, you said that Jesus, he was standing next to you and he told you that he was going to breathe for you. Did you hear that audibly in your mind, in your spirit? How did you hear that?
very audibly, very right there.
As if he was standing
Right
right next
there.
to you.
Yes.
Wow. Wow.
My
Okay.
eyes
And how
were
did you know it was Jesus and not? somebody else standing next to you.
Yeah, well, it was him. I mean, I know him. It was him. You know how I'm a Christian by faith, never had anything like this. I don't go seeking, all of this, fancy spiritual, stuff, but I've been a Christian. He became my best friend when I was a little girl. I didn't know a whole lot. And, but I knew of him, and nature. I think as a little girl, sitting out in the yard playing with your animals and stuff like that, he just always was there, kind of know that voice, but it was the Lord, and it was the same Lord he is today. It's the same Lord he was in the coma, but I didn't see him in the face or, anything like that. I didn't even think to look up or try to open my eyes and like, oh my goodness, the Lord, it was just, you just knew he was there. And he would tell me the same things, and he was very specific, and he's just like he is in his word. His sentences are very short and very powerful.
Mm.
They're to the point. And he told me not to worry after, about my heart or lungs. And I remember in the coma thinking, well, what's going on with my heart? Because I knew I had COVID, but my heart was about to burst. I guess I was dying and going into cardiac arrest. But he said not to worry about my heart or lungs after. I would be well and better than before. I mean, I don't even speak like that, but he wanted to show me things. And it's kind of funny, but our relationship is like that. Like when I pray about something, he'll always say, I just kind of hear not an audible voice then, it's more of an impression, but it's always the
Mm.
same, like, I'll show you. Janae,
Yeah.
I'll show you. So what should I do? I'll show you. So he does. And he uses that term with me a lot. And he did in the coma. He didn't change. And
So what is that like when you're in this coma? Are you in like a? I guess you're asleep in one sense. You're in a dreamlike state, and
no, I
he's
was very aware of the ICU. I was very alert, even though I'm drugged. I was in paralyzing drug because my body was fighting the ventilator. I was in
oh,
coma
so when you
drugs.
say coma, you're not saying you're asleep.
Well, I was in a medical, induced coma, but
Yeah,
mentally, I
but
was
you're like aware. Yeah.
very aware. Now, there were
Whoa.
times when the Lord came to me. There was one time that the Lord came to me, and this was a beautiful part of it. But I felt like I could hear him just almost like a thundering, his voice, but like very commanding, very loud for me to wake up. And I did feel I couldn't lift my eyelids. There's about 5 times in the coma I could actually lift my eyelids. That's how, just through my eyelashes, though, and I could see the ICU. So there is even though there is a power within, in a sense, that you're in there. And but he you know wanted me to wake up. This is what's kind of unique, but the whole story, it's in the book, but the whole story would tie in. But for me to pray for my daughter, to pray for me, that it was urgent. And it was,
What? Hang on.
yes,
You prayed for your daughter to pray for you.
yes. Now
Awesome.
this is awesome because it really showed me the power of prayer. Because really, us as humans, we could say, well, you have the Lord Jesus Christ standing next to you, or an angel of the Lord. But, to me, it was the Lord Jesus Christ standing next to me, waking me up, commanding me to pray that there was an urgent need now for me. But he, to me, with a cord, almost like a threefold cord, he tied me with my husband and my daughter in prayer because it was urgent. That afternoon, I was leaving this place. And, so they were praying. I'm praying for her to pray. And we were all tied together, and they had prayer chains going. People were calling the house saying that the Lord stopped them right then and there at the same time in the afternoon to pray, and one woman that didn't even know me, she was on a prayer chain, and she said that the Lord told her that after she got off the phone call to pray until he tells her to stop, that a war had been waged against Ginae. And she prayed, she said, for 6:30 that evening till 6:30 in the morning, and finally felt the release.
Whoa.
So by bringing me in and waking me up for I when I lived and I had the testimony to tell my family what happened to me in the coma, we we were blown away that we were together on so many things, but 9 miles apart, from a hospital to our home. And the Lord just did so many things, but the thing that He showed me the most was that He's everything. He's everything. And I really believe, Joel, that all those people that didn't make it, and that's hard for me, to know all those people with me, didn't leave that
Mm,
ICU like I did. It's a very weird feeling, but I do believe that He was with them. And I even believe if they weren't totally even ready to meet Him yet, I believe He took time with them and got them ready. I really
mm,
do, because it was that caring, that
yeah.
showing that much knowledge of what was going on. Was evil going on in there? Yes. Were there good nurses and good doctors? Yes. But there was a fight for those people's, there was a fight for my life. There was I could see and feel, and that's just getting into it too much, but there was a parallel universe. I mean, you could feel what we see here. And then it was like I could totally see into the spiritual realm. Like the Lord let me see that. I've never seen anything like that.
Some people that I have met that have experienced kind of what you're talking about. Actually, my mum, Julie, she has had a really similar experience where she had, not with COVID, but she was in the hospital with her appendix burst, and she didn't go to the hospital for like 4 or 5 days,
Oh,
which,
no.
yeah, normally it's a simple procedure, but she made it very complicated by deciding that she was too tough to go to the hospital and, and should have died. And she talks about how real the spiritual is. She was right at heaven's door for 3 days. She was at heaven's door. She could see into heaven. She could hear heaven, and she could smell heaven. It was, and she said, like, and a few other people that have been on the podcast. Another guy called Peter. He had a similar experience where Jesus actually he took him and showed him heaven, showed him that there was trees, that there was mountains, and he said it's more real than here. This
Yeah.
world's we call it temporary, but it he said I've never seen it feel so temporary because now I've seen what permanent looks like. Now I've seen what eternal looks like. And now
Yeah.
this world seems when we say it's temporary, it feels temporary
It
to him.
feels
He's
it.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, he's like, this is
And
nothing.
no, and what the Lord showed me, and he knew I was afraid. There was a couple times I had to repent because He wanted to show me, and I said, "Well, Lord, not my will but yours," because I really didn't want to see, what He was showing me that was going on in the world. And it, like I said, it's all the certain places He took me and
Yeah.
zoomed me to. It's happening right
You
now.
gotta you cannot just kind of skip over that. You gotta you gotta go into a bit of a detail with that. That sounds amazing.
Well, the thing was the organ harvesting. He showed me what's really going on in the world, and I didn't want to be there, to be honest, to see it.
So what are
Very.
you seeing? Are you seeing a room full of dead bodies and people taking out organs? What are you seeing?
Yeah, it was very, what he showed me was very high tech, very evil though. And it wasn't nice, or if there is such a thing. It was a business.
Have you seen the movie The Island?
No, no.
That's about clones, and they think that they're people, but they actually grow these people to harvest their organs, and then they escape.
It was,
Yeah,
yeah,
sounds like a
yeah.
similar.
Yeah, I wanted out I wanted out of there. And but
Wow.
that's when in the book I wrote, I said, Lord, forgive me, not my will. Okay, I'm with you. I should feel safe, but what He was showing me was not something you want to see. And but
So are
I
you like
think
flying through the world with him, or is he just
I
like
was. It was
transporting
like a
you?
Zoom. Like I just like I literally I remember like I had to like keep pulling my head up like I was going that fast.
Wow.
And I was like there. And in the beginning, I didn't understand. Like first, because I'm in a coma. I'm coming out of a miry clay. I'm thinking, did I go to an, like to go get my lungs, changed or something, because I had, I knew all of this stuff. It's like I knew what was going on, but then at the same time, the first few moments that I was more confused because I thought I took something in my own hands. Of course, I'm trying to come out of you know, a miry clay, a coma brain. I mean, I'm in there, but I'm not there anymore. It was like I wasn't there. I was like standing at that. But then the Lord showed me, He took me to these, beautiful farms where our foods are being poisoned. And it was so detailed and intricate, and even the workers dealing with all these chemicals, it's not healthy for them, and nobody cared, and it was just unbelievable. The farms, the beautiful farms that are being destroyed with and our food, it's a big business. And then one of the worst ones to me was he took me to an Asian, I believe, some kind of another country, and they're making the things for us like our trinkets, and the work conditions and the unbelievable things for us, like in America, everything, of course, I live in America, so everything came back to us. But, the little trinkets you buy your dog, the little bracelets or, whatever, it was just unbelievable. But that went into with some other stuff that he showed me. It's just so much. But that I hated because the people were just bartered for pennies and just like it was very dark and very evil and very sad conditions.
So this whole, I guess, the Lord taking you to looks like a very variety of different places, wanted to show you a whole lot. Do you recall how long, I guess, the trip around the world was, so to
Well, there
speak?
was, it was almost kind of like, a day, like, or maybe a couple times a day, but like every day, because you'd have to read the whole story. It just goes on, but what he showed me, to sum it up to me, was, and I thought the big thing after these impressions and when he zoomed to show me the world, and I feel like that kind of really impressed me that I was with him, because there's no way that I could see, know, feel, and in the Holy Ghost these things without it being the Lord. And it was
Mm.
very, just almost to prove to me, I guess, that I was with him. But when he took me to a vastness, and I thought maybe like, that I was going to see heaven. And I had lost my mom and dad, a few years back, between 10 months apart. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going to see heaven and stuff. But the Lord showed me, to me, what I summed it up afterwards was the way of life. And so he showed me the first 5 days of creation, how he created.
Really?
I, f-
Wow.
yeah. And I feel like he was just showing me, and it's said so nicely in the book, but the way of life, and that everything is him, that he is with us, who he is, and is just the most beautiful experience. I mean, after all the trauma that our family went through, and all the, I had to relearn to walk again. I live a normal life. I bike, clean my home and everything, but they said I would be in a wheelchair, from that drug and stuff, but I'm not and stuff. The Lord did all this wonderful things for me, but he just showed me that whole time that the Lord is real, and he loves us, and he knows so much. And maybe for my personality, he wanted to show me what he showed me. We haven't met any other survivors. I haven't met anyone who's had an experience like me where they remember I could do a movie. I cannot forget any detail. And
Can
you
I
know how
ask
you
about
wake
the
up? Oh,
creation
go ahead.
stuff? I've got
Yeah.
so many questions. Oh my
Oh
gosh.
my gosh.
Let's go with the creation, watching the creation story, because man, I need to slow my speech down.
Yeah.
I think I've been thinking about this for years, and there's a guy that I watched a few years back who explained potentially how Moses wrote Genesis, and he wrote how the creation events happened. So that's one person confirmed that probably seen how the creation events happened. And
I
when,
never thought about that, but yeah, he would have
yeah,
had to seen it, too.
well, they think when Moses was talking to God and he said, "No man can see my face and live, but you can see my back." So God actually shows him his back. Some people think that when God says, "I am the beginning and the end," that he is showing him the back side, like the past, but not the
Hmm.
future. So when you actually see God, when he was looking at it, if he looked at his face, if he looked at the front side of God, he would see the future, which is kind of what Paul saw when, sorry, the revelation of John, what John
Yes.
saw. He saw crazy stuff like he describes in Revelation, it says that he saw the sky recede like a scroll. It sounds like a mushroom cloud, like
Yeah.
how the clouds bend over and they recede like a scroll. So he's describing the forward part. I think Moses saw the back part, and which is interesting that you're like, I do believe it's possible to be shown the Genesis account, which is awesome. When he's showing you this, is he showing you like a day in 24 hours, everything growing and being planted, and the sun and the sky and everything being, I
Well,
guess,
what I
birthed
saw,
from his
yeah,
mouth,
what I
or
saw
what is it?
after I, yeah, what I saw after I survived, I really studied, out the word. And it was the first 5 days is what I saw. And when I zoomed with him after he showed me the things of the world, he wanted to show me, the things of the world. Then it was a separate time. And I came out of a miry clay again. And I just left the ICU like a big zoom. And we went to this huge darkness, this vastness. And I'm an artist. And so I'm very detailed in colors and things like that. So I'm just like looking. Now he's standing next to me, and I'm either hanging on to him or he's hanging, but maybe I'm hanging on to something. But I don't see the Lord. I don't ever look up to, honestly, even, I don't even think of it to look up, just try to say, maybe I can get a peek. I just don't. It's just not even, I don't even think of this. So that's fine with me because people go, well, did you? And I go, no. But no man to me sees his face anyway. But I didn't even think about that. I just knew he was there. I was with him and he wanted to show me. So I was always looking forward at what he wanted to show me. And it was so powerful in the Holy Spirit. He just was downloading when he was showing me stuff. So I'm just trying to be alert. And so we're in this vastness and I can just see darkness, but like in the darkness, it was almost like, I could almost see maybe like navy or burgundy or something. I could tell like I was in darkness, but at the same time, it had this like it was something. And so I'm just at the edge of my seat. I kept leaning forward, and the wind and stuff wasn't blowing around me or anything at that. I wasn't being forced. I was just kind of standing there, and it was like the Lord just said, in his most beautiful voice. I can't speak it like how he does, but he just is so eloquent. I want, Janae, I want to show you how I created. And it started like, and I know he probably did this for me because I could read, English, but it was like almost like this powerful gold sparkly, I don't know, it was like the word started writing, and it was almost like you could hear the word, like it just became alive. I don't know whether I was hearing it, seeing it, feeling it. It was just everything. It was like the word. Now the Lord is the word, right? But it was so real, and it just the vastness. And as this what I saw to me was words, the word of God, it started happening. And then it
Are you
became,
seeing written English words, or are you seeing?
to me, I felt like I saw, like, for me, someone else could have seen but for me to see and read what I was, it was kind of like, in the beginning, blah, blah, blah. And, but that kind of just went away, it was like I knew that's what it was. And then it was like a whirlwind around us. And as he spoke the word, it just happened. It was just unbelievable. But first, I thought I was going to see heaven, like
Oh
everybody
yeah.
else. I was really excited, and but it just, and in a way, I didn't really know he was showing me creation in a sense. I didn't. You're just seeing so much that you're just. But the whole time, I had my arms up in the air. Now I've let go of maybe hanging on, and they are spinning at like 1,000 miles an hour, and all I can say this whole time in this Zoom was, I said, Yahshua, the majesty. And I don't even talk like that. I always say Lord or Jesus, I hardly ever use Yeshua, and that's all I could say. And I, it was majestic, but then we zoomed through this water, just tons of water, and I could breathe, and it was like, these were all things that I was thinking the whole time, like, how is this happening? I was very alert, very questioning, like you, very just kind of talking to myself, like, how is this happening? And then we zoomed over the land, and everything was there, and the colors, the seeds and the herbs and the land, it was just unbelievable. And then the Lord, my favorite part was he zoomed me into the oceans, and I saw like in the ocean, and I'm seeing all the,
All the fish.
wait, fish and whale, whatever. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Did you see things that were extinct? Like, if you're in the ocean, did you see like any megalodon sharks or dinosaurs?
I wouldn't have known, to be honest. They were just right there where I could touch them almost, and I wasn't afraid. And and again, it
Do you
was
think he
just the
was
most.
showing you? Sorry, do you think he was showing you like the new heaven and the new earth? Do you think it would be something he's showing you prophetically, or are you
I felt
confident
like
that
he was
it's
showing
the
me
past?
how he created, how
Hmm,
this is all him now, not the
interesting.
future, the past, and
Yeah.
something in a way that I could understand, to be honest. It could have been so different. No, but it was powerful. It was immediate. It was like, my goodness, if I would be good with computers and stuff and make the movie, I would absolutely just like love it, but the grapes and the trees and the stuff and the vine and the bird. I remember zooming past these beautiful hills. I don't know where I was, but it was some country I've never been to, and zooming past. And I remember looking at the grapes and the burgundy. I remember thinking, how could I mix paints to get that color? It was just exquisite and all new, very new, very untouched, beautiful things.
Have you
But
seen Avatar with the blue people?
probably, probably with the kids or something, maybe,
Yeah, you should
you
watch
know.
that. Actually, when Avatar came out, it's the CGI is done so well on that, and they create this planet with these incredible plants and creatures, and really is quite stunning. And when I look at that, I'm thinking, man, I hope the new heaven and earth just looks something like that. That would be amazing, and it's probably going to be a lot better than that. But I'm just wondering if you've seen that movie, that would be like it's kind of when did you know that when that movie came out, people ended up getting depressed and going to counselors, and they started calling it avatar depression because people were so depressed they were not in this
Okay.
fictional world, which
As it
is
was so
interesting because
colorful, or,
it was
yeah.
beautiful, colorful,
Yes.
free, and it's interesting where people actually get this almost, I think, a spiritual depression from not being there. And I think it's like evidence that we will be in a place like this one day, and God is preparing a place for us. The
Yes.
Bible says that, and it's like we have this draw and this want to be in this free, amazing environment, this perfect paradise with God.
Yes.
And he's actually preparing that for us. I was just wondering if like
Yeah.
I've always wondered
Yeah. And
what
I
the
didn't.
early creation looked like. Did it look like
Yeah.
that? Or
It was
yeah.
very, it was very beautiful and like a whirlwind. It was just it was just unbelievable. I was amazed, and like I said, all I could say was Yeshua, the Majesty. It was just, and that was something I think he just wanted to show me. Because again, I feel like he really took me on this journey to show me the way of life, like
Mm,
how he up to the point we are now, where we're at as a world, and the prayers, that's needed. But and that, he took me on a journey to save me, and then there's even more, but it's just so much to go into. But you can tell in the steps that he did it, very organized, so
mm.
if you find out the rest of the story, it's very organized what he actually did and why he did it. um it kind of, we jumped around a little bit, but there is an organization too, I can tell by what he did. And my husband, I remember after I survived, we were talking, and he said there was a scripture, I think in the Acts, my mind just went blank, of course, where David said the Lord had shown him the way of life. And I thought, wow, because I couldn't, like he didn't stand there and say, Janae, I'm showing you but I felt like in my impression, in my spirit, that the Lord was trying to show me, where we have him, you know, he's in everything he created. This is his spoke, he is the word. He spoke us into existence. He's gonna do like what you say, he's gonna bring us the new heaven and earth. And it's, when it's with him,
Gina,
with not touched, it's more beautiful.
yeah, totally. And he says taste and see, like what does it mean to taste and see? You can't describe a taste, you have to experience it. And that's how the Lord is talking to us, like to taste and to experience. I can't just describe what I'm going to show you. I have to show you what I'm going to show you.
Yes.
Um, and I've got a question for how you you had this incredible moments with the Lord showing you from the beginning of creation to the evilness in the world all over. How do you even get to the point where you're going, how do I describe what I've just seen to my husband? Like, without looking crazy, and because that would come to me. Not that I don't, I think my wife would believe me, but I wouldn't almost believe me. Like, what have I just seen? Like, this is incredible. When I was really young, I saw this massive meteor go over our hometown, and I had my brother with me, so we both saw it. We weren't
Mm,
crazy. And one of my brother's friends, there was three of us, and
hmm.
my brother and I actually, we kind of stopped talking about it because we sounded crazy.
Yeah.
Like we, we
You know
didn't want to
it.
share an experience that was so incredible, and it was really hot. Like it got close into our atmosphere, and I
Hmm.
remember this giant,
Yeah.
like a this
Like what's
massive
going
thing
on?
that lit up the whole sky.
Yeah.
I've still never seen anything, and I've still never found a record of it either, which is more weird. But the fact that it was such a weird event, people started not believing me, and I just almost started stop talking about it. How did you navigate that?
Well, it's because it was so real. When I survived and woke up, and it was a fight for my life. That's another long story.
Yeah.
It was a fight to get me. The Lord had to, get me new nurse, the prayers, the fighting in the spiritual realm. But I did. My stats went to normal one morning. When they were putting me in hospice and meds to kill me, to let me go quicker. My stats went to normal, and a new nurse had faith. She told my daughter that she felt hope. She had lost everybody. And when my stats went to normal, I really feel she heard the voice of the Lord. So she was going to be my nurse the next 4 days. And so she goes, I'm going to try to work her off the ventilator. She goes, I don't have any promises because your mom, is in bad shape, but, God knew. But when I survived, I just started. I mean, I couldn't move. I was a pancake. I had to relearn to walk again. I was no strength. I couldn't lift an arm or a leg or anything. I had to really rebuild my body and learn everything again. But I had a mouth. It was all beat up from the ventilator, my whole face from the ventilator, my poor mouth and stuff, but it still worked. And So God must have known, to take me through it because my mouth, every person who came in the room that cleaned my room, every nurse, every doctor, and to this day, there's been nobody that hasn't believed me, which is shocking to me. Now, there might have been someone who's bought the book and thought, what in the world? But I haven't heard that person. Everybody's reached out and just is like, they they feel, I mean, they know it's true too. I mean, it's the weirdest thing because I would
Yeah.
think like you, to be honest. Even talking to you tonight, I'm kind of thinking, is he thinking,
No, no, I
you
believe
know,
you. My
but
question is more like if you saw something unbelievable yourself,
right.
the idea of trying to, like, sometimes it's easier to be like, no one's gonna believe me. It's it's more work to try and
Yes,
share
I get it.
this miracle. Like, what's the point? And me, I mean, like feeling conscious of almost can look like it's so amazing what's happened, and I do believe you. Like, I've had people that have seen crazy stuff on this
Yeah.
podcast, crazy, like
Oh
crazy
yeah.
stuff. But there's I believe them, and often there's a huge amount of evidence that goes with it. Like a broken leg now is not broken. Uh, but what I'm trying to say is, like, you saw all this stuff, kind of like me seeing this meteor
Mm-hmm.
when I was a young kid, and I remember thinking, like, one time I was at my friend's birthday party and he was saying, "Do you think aliens are real?" And I almost started talking about this meteor that I had seen. And I went, "There's
Yeah.
no point in me even bringing this up because he's going to think I'm lying."
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever thought that? Like, what's the point in sharing this because people
Well,
are going to think
in
I'm lying?
And this I can't because the Lord, He gave me even an outline. He said, after, I don't hear the big audible voice like that. I haven't since the day that I went into the gym the first time. I was the last real strong impression, not an audible voice, but a very strong, strong impression.
Mm,
Now, of course, you feel the Holy Spirit and I feel the Lord, but nothing like what this was. But He gave me directions that I was to rest and recover the first year. The second year, I was to write the book and then the book would be published. And it went right in that order. But he told me that there were ears to hear.
mm,
And I felt it. When I survived, it's the weirdest thing. I had every reader, I really believe, on my mind the day I survived because I knew something about my story, even one part of it would bring somebody hope. It's so much to my story that so many different personalities could be touched or believe or that type of a thing. That's the only thing I hang on to is that I'm supposed to keep telling it. And I haven't, you're the first one I think I've mentioned creation too. So
oh yeah,
I kind of leave that one for the book, but I feel like the Lord is saying I can really start talking about this, now. And if I, again, for me to put it into words, I can't. If I could put it almost in a movie type of a show type thing,
yeah,
it would be way more. I could, if I knew how to like orchestrate that, that would be way more showing than I can ever put in words, to be honest. It's almost indescribable.
mm,
But the thing is that I just know that there's some kind of hope, that can be given to build because we need, let's see, we need faith, right? That's our foundation to have our hope. And people need hope that it was a very and very, very bad, impossible situation. And then the Lord to make it so unique.
yeah,
It is kind of surreal, but um there's just so many things that if you put it all together, you'll see that it just fits. And the people that don't even know us, that the Lord told them things and their testimonies are in the back of the book. I mean, they didn't know us and God spoke directly to them. It's just, and then we all found each other. I mean, how that even, all this kind of things. And then there's a lot to do, with in the world right now. There's still so much to do for all the people who are still suffering from what happened.
yeah, yeah. I would agree with that. Actually, that's something I did want to ask you. I won't hold you for too long because I know it's really late at night over in the States. But for the next kind of pandemics, since you've kind of gone through the worst side of it, do you have advice for believers and non believers how to handle the next pandemic? Not that that's going to come, but it might. Probably
Yeah.
will.
Well, they may try it. One, I'll tell you what, the Lord just downloaded this right in my head right now. We need to pray now and stop it. And I just got this downloaded right now. So we need to pray against that. We need to push it back and stop it. We had two hurricanes come in here in Florida. Bad. The one that just went up our Gulf and destroyed North Carolina, destroyed our side, and then we had a second one that was going to be worse. Well, everyone that I know of that knows how to pray, we started standing against that. And I really feel like that's what we need to do now is we need to push the darkness back in prayer, bind those things. I really believe that. I do believe the evil has those things planned, the good and evil. I really do, spiritually, and the humans that are being used or whatever's going on in this warfare or in this plant, in this world. I do believe they probably have something else planned to get us under control or, whatever, depopulate us, whatever they want to think they're doing. But I really believe with the power of prayer now, we can stop that. We can push it back. When that second hurricane hit us, it came in like unbelievable winds, like 165-mile-an-hour winds. It exited over our house, clocked at 100 miles an hour of winds. I mean, we just sat here, and I remember I looked at my daughter after everything we've been through, and I said, we live a very exciting life, but we were very peaceful, and
Good
we
way to look
prayed.
at it.
Yeah, we have big glass doors out front. And I stood there and I had my hands up against, out there, and I just said, Lord, you can control this. And it was the weirdest thing. That hurricane should have made a absolute mess of our other side when it entered with the storm surge, and because it was already messed up from Helene and Milton. It was like the winds came in way worse. It was like they were just making the storm like an unbelievable, giving it power. But the surge did not come in. All the garbage was still in the streets from the other hurricane. It just did not do what it was supposed to do, even though it was clocking these numbers. And so I kind of feel like that's right now. I didn't even think about this, Joel, until you just said this, but we do need to start pushing that stuff back
Mm,
under the power of prayer. And God, I believe, can change their plans.
mm.
I really believe they'll, it's kind of like Haman, can make all these plans, but
Yeah,
God's children are not going to hurt, and it's going to come back on them.
yeah.
But the other thing is take good care of yourself in the sense of like supplements. But if it's really a poison or a biological poison or something like that,
Mm,
we're going to need the right doctors and right meds that will help
mm.
for something like that. So
Yeah.
that can be a lot of little research, and it's out there now, what really
What
does
really
work.
works, yeah, and what doesn't
Yes.
work.
Yes. And so just you can almost like, Google it, but now there is knowledge of what works. So that to me, you find a good doctor or somebody that can get you those meds, now and keep some, ivermectin and things like that. They were good for years. There's no side of, things like that. So there's so many good things that could happen, but who knows what they have planned. But I do believe right now, I feel like we almost got like instructions. We're supposed to, all of us Christians, we're supposed to push this stuff back in prayer.
Yeah, I
It
agree
doesn't
with that.
have to happen.
Yeah, and have a real emphasis on us being the Christian family. I think is really important. We are brothers and sisters in Christ.
Hmm.
And people, man, the worst of us really came out behavior wise during the pandemic. And like, I'm still making sure I am sensitive to being spiritually decisive, like being able to, what do they call it, discernment on truth, and but also being really, really careful to absolutely love and respect our Christian brothers and sisters all around the world, no matter.
Right.
I mean, the worst case scenario was what you went through, and on the, you got COVID, it was really, really bad. You went on a ventilator, really, really, really bad again. And then there's the other side where I've had another lady, who her and her sister were vaccinated really, really badly, like
Yes.
really badly. So there's
Right.
these like, but the thing is it was the treatment towards each other that some chose to get vaccinated, some didn't. Some saw the COVID virus as mainstream media hocus pocus. They're blowing it up bigger than it really is. And others, like yourself, who are actually dying on the bed, and then that created this division
It did.
between all of us. And it was
Even
like,
even in the hospital, it was there were nurses you could tell absolutely did not like you, did not think you deserved to be there if you were unvaccinated.
mm,
And then there were doctors that would sneak in and just say, vaccinated or not vaccinated, it doesn't matter. Everybody's dying in the ICU, on
yeah,
those ventilators. So
yeah,
their eyes were being opened. A lot of them weren't even vaccinated yet themselves. They were fighting
mm,
it, with religious exemptions or just ignoring the hospital as long as they could. Several nurses told me they would quit their job if it was going to be mandatory. And in most states, it really, really was pushed. Florida, we were a little more, we were a little more open, and our
mm,
governor was a lot more open than the other states. So some of the workers, were still able to stay away from that if they didn't want it.
yeah.
But yeah, I've already lost some friends that they really believe that the turbo cancers they got were from the vaccines.
Wow. Wow,
Yeah,
that's interesting. I remember when the mandates happened in New Zealand, and people were forced either get the vaccine or lose your job. But
right.
the after effect of that is, if I don't get the vaccine, I lose my job. If I lose my job, I can't pay my mortgage. If I can't pay my mortgage, I lose my house. If I lose my house, I probably lose my marriage and I
Right.
lose my kids. And
Yeah.
like the domino effect is really, really bad. And then we had these people that had been vaccinated, and they seemed like they hated unvaccinated people. And they
Yeah, they
said,
did.
yeah, and they said to these people, yeah, but it's your choice. And it's like, is that really a choice? If I put a gun to your head and say, put all your money in my bank account,
Right.
it's your choice though. I'll pull the trigger, but it's still your choice. It's not a choice.
It's
It's
not a choice.
extortion. It's
No,
it's
we
terrible.
were afraid. My family was afraid for us because we didn't get the vaccines. Not that we're like big anti-vaccination type people, but we didn't get them because they were too new. There was too many. It didn't make common sense that that was the vaccine for this virus, or they didn't even know the virus. So common sense, we just held off.
Very
Not a
wise
big
of you. Yeah.
Yeah, we just held off. We felt it even in the Lord, to be honest, that it just was not what we were supposed to do. And but boy, when I got to the hospital and I was not
And they're like,
vaccinated,
"Oh,
I was in
serves you
trouble.
right." The
I
way
was
that they poor, that's not good.
Yeah, I was in trouble. So what I had to do, I didn't lie because I can't lie. I don't want to lie before the Lord or anything. So what I did is I just told the truth, but in a way that it might have lightened my, treatment from them. I said, well, there was three vaccines, and we didn't know which one to get, which one would work, which was the truth. And I just didn't never said we weren't going to get it. And so my husband and my daughter had to say the same thing on the phone to protect me that we just hadn't. But I don't know if I got worse treatment because of that or not. It was very, I'll tell you this, between the nurses and the doctors that did sneak in and talk to me after, it was very apparent there was a huge issue in this world. a huge, scary division in that
And now
hospital.
there is 100% professional athletes and things like that that did take the vaccine, and they're dropping dead in the middle of playing football or whatever it
Yeah.
is, and it's what do they call it? Sudden heart syndrome or sudden
Yes.
death syndrome or something like that, which basically means people are dying randomly, like they've got a
Mhm.
little time bomb in their heart.
Yeah, it's very sad. The other thing is I love to, math and stuff like this. And common sense. I don't know. So I knew this, the summer before we got it, but honestly, there's no way that those vaccines were for that. They were already made
Yeah, yeah, I
because
believe that.
there would never have been new for numbers. We would have had to, all of us had to go to work part
Mm,
time, maybe open up factories to have made that many millions of
true.
vaccines. And nobody was getting a job. Nobody was asking, Pfizer to get working. It would have been like a real pandemic, like a real, like the women going back to work and making these things. And for them to have had that many, it's mathematically impossible.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like it's all very organized for
Yes.
a freak virus.
Yeah.
Also, vaccines normally take 10 years to
Yes.
develop. We did it
Right.
pretty quick, record time, and a lot of guinea pigs lined up.
Yeah. And what's
Yeah.
sad is it's not saving anybody from getting COVID.
No,
No.
I remember they actually changed the term vaccine to not mean what it used to mean, because vaccine used to mean actual protection. You would not get the virus kind of thing. You had already had the antibodies, and your body had figured out how to fight the virus.
Mm.
Same thing when you get chicken pox. Same thing. Basically totally immune as an adult if you have it when you're younger. And but they actually changed the term vaccine. In fact, in New Zealand, they were calling it just shots. The
Okay.
vaccine, the
I think we called it
COVID
jabs.
shot. Yeah, the
Jabs,
jabs and the
jabs
shots.
here in
They
America.
Yeah, they kind of stopped the word vaccine a little bit because
Yeah.
it didn't.
It
Well, it
didn't
wasn't.
fit. It doesn't fit the narrative or anything. But, again, and, you have a wonderful podcast, is, keep the people that have lost, the loved ones to this in your heart and prayer, because I
Mm,
just see, that nothing, that justice hasn't come. They
yeah.
know that they did something wrong for their loved one, and it's very hard. And there's so many wonderful people that really want, and they care, they want to get the truth out there, so we can never make this sure this happens again. And a doctor can be a doctor, and if there's a good medicine that we can try, then let's try the good medicine. Why
Mm.
would we say no to a good medicine that might save someone's life? And
I want to just take my hat off to you, Janae, for like you. I got COVID and didn't get sick. Well, not really. I was sick for like a day, and I got back better. So I never considered getting the vaccine because I'm young and I'm healthy, and also
right.
New Zealand wasn't. We didn't have that much COVID, really, to be fair. And but you got badly sick, and
Yeah.
you still like if there's a jab that you would run to try and survive. I'm actually quite surprised you never took it. But like good on you for having that discernment to seek the Lord and to pray. And in those times where push comes to shove, where pressure really is put on you. Like for me, it
Yeah, it
wasn't
would.
that much pressure. I'm self-employed,
Yeah,
wasn't losing my job. I didn't have the pressure that some people had. You had a lot of pressure,
we had a
and
lot of pressure.
well done for seeking the Lord and for using common sense, like you said. And even when you got sick, that's
Hmm.
you were still going, yeah, but this vaccine is still so new. I would rather just see how I go with
Hmm.
I guess the God given immunity that He designed in your body in the first
Right,
place.
right. Yeah, and I got that a lot after, after I survived. doctor that was like, oh, you got to get all of them now, and I'm like, why? I've got the best antibodies ever. I don't
Yeah,
need it. But I was
exactly.
trying to be nice, but like, no, I'm not going to take
It's the
your
same thing.
vaccines. Yeah.
According to
And
science, it's the same thing. You
right,
got auto
right.
antibodies and then you got vaccine. Vaccine is just you're supposed to be
A
putting
little
the
bit.
virus.
Yeah, a
Yeah,
little bit of
same
it.
thing.
And yeah, exactly. So we know science a little bit.
Yeah. But yeah, good on you. I just wanted to really honor you in that, and also for our listeners to take heed of that thought process that you had to even under pressure to consult with the Lord to
Mm,
say like not let fear decide your decisions, and
right.
that's exactly what you did. Like, and also being a Christian, you were like, I can do my last breath and I can go home. I will go with you, Lord. Like you were open to that. And that's a big thing too, where Jesus says to take up your cross and follow me. That means to come with me. Don't let fear rule your decisions in your life. And if you have to go to the cross, if you have to go to death, you're going home. Like to
Yeah.
be okay with that. And you had that mindset, which is
And I didn't know I
awesome.
had that, to be honest. So that was kind of nice to see that I did.
Yeah, yeah,
I got to learn myself a little bit that and it was, nice people said, well, did you still want to go with him? And I said, well, he didn't give me really the choice. He said, you will not die.
yeah.
I will breathe for you. And I was like, oh, wow, I'm not, because it sure felt like the next one wasn't going to be there. It was so shallow, but there was and there was a thing, let me just say, I don't know, this just came to my mind, but there's a line in the book that I just love, that it was a very sad moment surrendering to those four nurses that were going to force me in a coma. They started doing my IV and putting me out, and they were going to put me on the ventilator without my family being known or told, and they got a last text from me. But it was very sad surrendering to that. But right then, and that's like, if I can encourage anyone, if you're at a point like that, hopefully not that serious, but I gave it to the Lord right then. I remember just thinking, oh boy, Lord, I need, I'm, I have to surrender to them, but I'm not, I'm surrendering to you. And, you've got this. And I think that that can bring us through. And even if you don't get the outcome like I just, it's so nice to be able to have him to surrender to, and know that he's gonna, no matter what those people were gonna do, he had a plan, and he knew it, and I mean, he knew this going in. I mean, people are like, so many people afterwards were like, today, did you get mad at God? Did you question God? Like, why? Because my family really went through it. My poor husband and my children, three children, they were losing their mom and his wife, and they were deathly sick themselves. My husband almost died a couple of times. And my daughter, my youngest, was here with us, so she would have lost both parents within a few
Whoa.
weeks. I mean, it was a very bad time for them. But at the same time, they stood strong on God. They wouldn't give up. And when I prayed for her to pray, she said that they felt the gates of hell come in the house before this. And then they got the call from the hospital that I was dying. And she said when she got off the phone, she made a few calls for everybody to get back on those prayer calls. She hung up the phone, and I was praying in the coma because I didn't know where she was. I'm like, Scott, I'm praying for you to get her to pray because I don't know where she's at. I don't know what's going on. And my husband could hardly talk. He was on oxygen. He couldn't even speak, but he said, he croaked out, Rachel, you pray. So my prayer to get him to tell her, I mean, it was just so funny because I was so alert. I was really doing this because God said it was urgent. I was really praying, and I never questioned, well, Lord, you're right here. Save me. Why do you want me to pray for my daughter to pray? But it was the most powerful experience, life changing in her life. She said that when her dad said, Rachel, you pray, and she felt so strong to pray, she stood up, and I don't know, like an hour and a half, she was used by the
Mm.
heavens in a very, very, very powerful prayer. And I'm here, and it's not
Yeah.
just hers, but it was used. God used that. And a minister afterwards called us out in a church, and he said that God, he doesn't know us or anything, but he said God took the scripture, the three chord, the strength, and
Yeah.
that we,
It's not easily broken. Yeah.
yes, and that it just confirmed to us that me, my husband and my daughter, he tied us together, even though we're 9 miles apart, me in the ICU, he tied us together in that moment of prayer. And
Mm.
that's one of my favorite testimonies out of this,
Yeah.
is
And
that
that's
he
so
woke me
cool.
up to pray.
And it would have really built your daughter's faith as well. And seeing, I mean, there's one thing about praying for something or somebody, and then it's another thing to see a direct result. And
Yes,
that's awesome, like, I mean, I can imagine the heart loss of if both of you and your husband did actually pass away, the heart loss that would have been for your daughter, it makes you wonder, would that have affected her faith? I
right,
remember,
exactly.
yeah, I remember when my mother was on death's door, and I was praying and fasting, and I remember sitting down and I said, Satan, even if she dies, I'm still gonna raise my hands to Jesus, and I'm still
Hmm.
gonna praise God, even if she dies.
Hmm.
And then I said, God, even if you take her, I'm still gonna thank you, and I'm still going to
Hmm.
follow you, and I'm still going to praise you. And it was like that was the moment where I believe the surrender from the enemy happened. It was like,
You
what
won
are
the
we
battle.
we're wasting our time, like
Hmm.
we're doing this to mess with this guy's faith. We're doing this to deter this guy's belief in his God. That's what the
Yeah.
demons were thinking. We're
Well,
doing
the
this,
front, yeah, yeah,
and then
they were
and
coming
then
after you, but they weren't going
now
to
they're
win.
like, what are we doing? They're like, okay, move on to the next person. And then, yeah, my
Yeah.
mum was miraculously healed. And it was like, whoa.
Well, and see, and I really believe that time, the angels are warring, the heavenly host are warring, and then you're that serenity, like even surrendering, like even me, like, he helped me do that, though. I know none of this was me. He touched me in a way in the coma that even made me, love him even more,
Mm,
Oh, and some of those things, one of the things I really fell in love with him more in the beginning when he was showing me all the evil things going on in the world. He was so beautiful, Joel. He said, and it wasn't like I was judging or anything like that, but he said it in such a beautiful, loving way. He said, Janae, I want to show you these things, don't judge. And he had
mm,
such a love for still everything he was showing me. All those people involved still had a chance. All those people could still repent of what they were
mm.
doing and how they were treating humanity. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, like, how can we not love you when you just showed me 4 or 5 of the most wickedest, evilest things that are going on in this world right now? And
Mm.
you told me just very loving, I just want to show you, don't judge. And just such a loving father. And I was amazed. And I still am. And I remember I just told my husband, I said, I fell in love with him so much more because that is the God we serve.
Yeah.
He really loves us
Can I ask you, the organ uh, harvesting that you mentioned, the organ harvesting, why do you think God showed you that? Like, out of all the things
to
that he
start.
could have,
Yeah, that
yeah,
was
like,
my
it seems
first
like a
thing he started
bizarre,
with too.
yeah,
I think just because it's happening.
yeah.
And
Because
that's
there's a
what I
lot of evil in the world. I'm so interested to know.
Well,
I
and
mean,
that's what I was kind of confused with, yeah, to be honest, because I was thinking I had gone there like for some new lungs,
of
So
course,
in
yeah.
my coma brain, I was so confused, but it really was to show when you line them all up from the crops, the farming, it really is showing the evil. I mean, it's coming out in the news now too. I mean, almost when I hear something on the news, I almost cringe because I actually saw it. It was so high tech, very organized, and they keep people alive
Whoa.
when they're taking stuff.
Nice, because yeah, organs go bad pretty quick when
But
they
you're
die.
staying alive. They might harvest something, but you're still alive on a machine, very high tech, and it. it was very something I would never have imagined. So and it must be going on somewhere. And I have heard some stuff in the news. I don't really want to hear it. I like nice things now. But it is coming out. And so I just feel like he was trying to show me, like he showed me the future in a sense to me, because I didn't know all these details. I mean, I had
Yeah.
a little idea like they poison our crops, they put the chemicals, the Roundup, but I didn't see how concentrated, how organized of a evil this is.
Yeah. Wow.
A real organized money making, and humans are like little ants. We're being used, by higher ups or something.
It's got to be an
It's
end
very
days
detailed.
sort of thing. Yeah, it's got to be like the end days sort of thing that's gonna be part of it.
And I
I'd
think it
say.
was like shocking enough, like information enough too, like even for me to know that God alone was showing me these things. And he wanted to show me these things and not judge, and so, and I've heard other people say that
Do you think it's to be aware of like
to be
something that's
aware. Yeah.
coming?
Yeah, to
Yeah.
be aware, just to just know what's going on, and also probably to faith build me too, that I was with him, but to know, be aware. And these are things that he has shown me. He does show me stuff, in the world. I get a discernment, and you know, y- y- like if you've talked to people and they have no idea what's going on in the world, but you feel like you know almost everything compared, to them. And I think that was kind of that thing. It was just a more of a kind of confirmation of a
Yeah.
that you are hearing me, I do but this
Yeah.
is that was way more intricate information. But now, like I said, 4 years later almost, it's coming out in the news, this kind of stuff, exactly to the T. And the white parties and the sex trafficking, I saw all of that. I didn't know anything
We see
about
a lot
that.
of that here in Thailand, sex trafficking. It's horrible.
Yeah.
And it's
And
it's one of these things where people prefer to remain ignorant. If they can't see it, then uh, then it doesn't affect their lives. Therefore, sort of they get along with their very sheltered life. But man, some of the evil that is in the world. I remember when we decided to move over to Thailand because we want to and have been working with different people to stop
yeah.
child sex trafficking here in Thailand. It's one of those things where, like, I remember even my grandfather. He sort of was really surprised that we were coming to Thailand, and he said, what's the point? People need you here, and it
Yeah.
was just one of those really interesting things where we were like, yeah, but it's doesn't. If we feel that the Lord is leading us here, then we just need to obey that. And from his mindset, it was like, well, you can't see that, so don't worry about that. That was his mindset, which I found really interesting. I think a lot of people in the West have that mindset. If I can't see it, then it almost doesn't
It
exist.
did.
I know
Yeah,
it
it's
does
not
exist, but it
happening. Or
doesn't exist for me. Like
when you
yeah,
know what you're feeling, and like you had asked earlier about that voice, how did I know it was him? I mean, you just know, if you do know his voice, then you just know that it's him.
that's right. And the Lord says, "My sheep will know my voice" as well.
Hmm.
And that's actually one of the reasons I asked you that. Like, it's one of the things for our listeners if they're hearing a voice.
Yeah.
How do you confirm that it's the Lord? How do you know that it's Him? And I ask every one of our guests that when they hear the Lord's voice, I want to know, how do you know it was Him? And it's actually more of a teaching moment for us to go, that's how you heard the Lord. Now, if something similar happens in my life, I can start to recognize the Lord's pattern on how he
Hmm.
speaks to his people. But yeah, let's do one last little bit, Janae, before I let you go. I would love for you to talk a little bit about your book and tell people how they can purchase it. Is it on Amazon? Is it on the Kindle digital, or is it just physical? And if you can send me any links, we'll make sure that it's in the description below, make it nice and easy for people to
Okay.
find.
Okay. Yeah. So it's called I Will Breathe for You. There's a nice cover. And it is on Amazon. Barnes and Noble is our, stores, here, but Amazon, it is on Kindle. The publisher, I think, just loaded it up on that. It's easy to get. I think, like in America, I know everyone's getting it like the next day, which I don't know how they do that. So if you
Awesome.
order it on
So you just
Amazon, you
order
get
it.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, cool.
you get it the next day, but it's, I'm so proud of the book because that was a testimony too, because that was the Lord. I mean, even when I edited it before the publisher, I worked on it for 6 weeks, and it was such an exciting time getting to my computer every morning because it was like God was editing. I'm not an editor. And he just showed me, like, to move this paragraph here because maybe it needed to start at the beginning or, whatever. Or, you can speak on this later, but don't put it in the book. It, messes up the flow because there's so much to tell, what he showed me. But I wanted to make it a readable size book, but yeah, so I really appreciate that. And the book, I just know that there's ears to hear. He wanted it written for a reason. Because I first kind of thought like maybe do like a blog, like on Facebook, just tell the story slowly and see. And the Lord was like, no, there will be a book, but I don't want you to write one word for a year. I want you to recover. And I was fine. I mean, I was living and stuff, but I needed a year. He was right. I needed a year to sit with him and chew on everything he showed me. But he downloaded like scriptures and he showed me like later, and it's in the book, like things that he showed me later, what he showed me in the coma that I just kind of had
Mm,
no idea what it really meant. So it's just it's amazing. He showed awe, but at the same time, it was it's such a difficult time. I don't know if anyone understands, but it was such a difficult time that my heart still just goes out to everybody that,
mm,
went through this, you know, and not in a
yeah,
bad way, though, in a good way. It's like people go, are you negative about this? No, to me, it's like now we can lift them up in prayer and we can fight back in prayer. And these beautiful people are also through their loss, they're blossoming and they're being used. And so
yeah,
God, is bringing his children together, like what you're doing. And, he's getting things out there and we're becoming one big family, which is going to have strength together, right?
yeah,
You know,
yeah. Awesome. Oh, well, thank you, Janae. What an awesome testimony that you've got, and I'm sure you've got more to share as well. Like, this is just the smallest part of your life, which, only happened a few years ago. So, yeah, man, you've definitely got stories to tell. Thank you for coming on the Jesus Magnet. A big shout out to Jonathan who connected us, and
yes.
that's with God Manifest. So he's an awesome man, and he is on our show as well, from Buddhism to Christian. And yeah, so just want to say thanks for coming on the show. And yeah, please go check that out, listeners. We'll put it in the description. We'll make it as easy as possible for you guys to find that, so you don't have to go and Google it. Just click down in the description, and we'll just get that to you nice and easy. So thank you for listening to this episode of the Jesus Magnet.